Hello, my name is Maggie, and I am a beloved child of God, and so are you. Today, my phrase for the day is consider the source. Now, consider the source. Have you ever heard anybody say that? It means when you think about where your information is coming from. If a friend tells you that you shouldn't be friends with somebody else, sometimes you might think, well, why are they telling me this? What's in it for them? Or why would they think that? So you're considering the source. And sometimes when we're trying to decide if something is real or an imitation or a fake or not real, we need to consider the source. Imitation things aren't always bad. I have a cereal, one of my favorite cereals, that I only ever got the name brand, and my husband came home with the grocery store brand, and I was very disappointed. I said, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be good. And I ate it and thought it was lovely. It's delicious. It's fine. I'll save money now. I'll buy the grocery store brand. Great. So sometimes it's not a big deal if it's not the real thing. But in today's story, the people are trying to decide about the Messiah, the Christ, and they're trying to think about what is the real thing. And they had to trust who was telling them what and where they were getting their information from. We're in the Gospel of Luke now. It's the first Sunday after the Epiphany. And prior to our gospel story today, we've heard about different people getting information and how they've gotten their information. And they've gotten their information from the source, from the expert. So what I mean is Zechariah and Elizabeth, they had an encounter with God and found out that they were going to have a baby. This miracle was going to happen. And Mary and Joseph, they found out that they were going to have the Messiah and that this beautiful miracle was going to happen. And they found that out from God, from angels. They're getting their information. And then after that, we hear the shepherds. They have the heavenly host come and talk to them and tell them, go see this beautiful baby. So the shepherds experience God. And after Jesus is born, then in the temple, Anna and Simeon, they have an experience with God. And after that, the wise men, they have an experience with God, the Epiphany. So all of these experiences that these people are having when they're seeking truth, they're wondering, who is the Messiah? How is this story of God unfolding for me? And they're getting it directly from the source, from God. God is telling them, this is what is happening, people. It's beautiful. In today's story, we get to experience people trying to decide if something's real or not and trying to get it from the source, and it's a baptism. And we had 2 baptisms in church today, y'all. It's been a long time since we've had baptisms in church, and it felt so good to stand there with our community, with our church family, and renew our baptismal vows and be reminded of why we do what we do and how we gather in this community for purpose and intention. It's beautiful. But today's story, the baptism, is about Jesus. I guess not but, and. The story, the baptism story in our gospel today is Jesus' baptism. Now, John the Baptist, we've talked about him a couple times, he is baptizing people and he's doing his thing. Well, John the Baptist is doing his thing. I liked this coloring page. I found this one specifically because we see John the Baptist here doing his thing, which is living in the wilderness, wearing furs and animal skins, and eating wild honey and locusts. He was a wild man. He's got scraggly hair. I mean, he's out there preaching. He's out there telling people, prepare yourselves because the Messiah is coming. And he was calling people sets of vipers, and he was out there. And the people would come to John the Baptist and probably talk amongst themselves and say, is he the Messiah? I feel this feeling when I'm listening to John the Baptist. Maybe he's the Messiah that we've been looking for. I think it's John the Baptist. And they're trying to figure out, like, is this it? Is this it? That reminds me of this past week. We were wondering if we were going to have a snow day or not. And we have several rituals in my house where we put a spoon under our pillow, they flush ice down the toilet, and wear your pajamas inside out because that's how you know you're going to have a snow day. So we do all the things and we're trying to figure out, and so-and-so's friend's cousin said it was going to snow tomorrow. And the teacher at the other school said it was going to snow tomorrow. We were going to have a snow day. So everybody's talking about it. Is it a snow day? Is it a snow day? You know how we found out if it's going to be a snow day or not? When the school told us it was going to be a snow day. When the school made the announcement that they would be closed for school. That's how we knew it was going to be a snow day. It didn't matter what somebody's friend's cousin's daughter told them. It didn't matter what the teacher said. It didn't even matter what the principal had said, if it was going to be a school day or not. What matters is when the school system says it's going to be a snow day. We're not going to have school. That's where we get it. That's from the source. So these people are sitting there and they're watching, they're trying to figure out if John the Baptist is a real thing, and is he or isn't he? And I bet they were debating. I bet there's some person still sitting there saying, oh, this man's crazy. I do feel wild and crazy when I'm around him, but I think it's because he's wild and crazy. And he says, you know, the Messiah is coming, and I baptize you with water, but he will baptize you with wind and with fire. And we think about Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit it comes to us on Pentecost, or also how you could separate things out. And sometimes we talk about separating things out with fire or with wind blowing away the chaff from the grain, or the separating things out. So John the Baptist says, no, I'm not the Messiah. He is coming, and he is going to baptize you in a deep, internal way that I could never do. And so Jesus comes and he gets baptized. And these people are watching this. And, okay, they trust John the Baptist. If they trust John the Baptist, they think, okay, this is a big deal. This man is getting baptized by John the Baptist. If they trusted John the Baptist, then they might believe that this is Messiah. If they didn't trust John the Baptist, they'd be like, that man looks nothing like the king that we're expecting. That man is scruffy, looks like he's been walking around a bit. He's just, just looks like a carpenter. He just looks regular. Who's that? That's Jesus. That's nobody. He's not the Messiah. So if they didn't trust John the Baptist, they might be doubting. Then what happens during Jesus' baptism is we get it from the source. The heavens open up, and the Holy Spirit comes down, descends from the heavens in the form of a dove, and there's a loud voice. Well, they didn't even say loud. It says the voice of God, which when I was reading that, I was thinking, I wonder if they actually heard it, or if they felt it, or if they experienced God's voice talking to them. And God says, this is my beloved son. I'm very pleased with him. They heard it from the source. If you were standing there on that day listening to John the Baptist talk to this man, Jesus from Nazareth, and you were just watching this guy get baptized, you walked away and you had no doubts. You knew who the Messiah was, because the heavens opened up and the Holy Spirit descended, and they heard the voice of God saying, this is it, y'all. This is my son. So sometimes we are going through life and we have to make choices. Is this God? Is this not God? I would love a lot of times for the heavens to open up and for me to see a dove come down and point me in which direction I need to go, or the choices I should make. I mean, wouldn't that be convenient? And sometimes that's my prayer too. And I had a friend tell me this. I think it's great. Hey, God, I just need a neon sign. I just need a neon sign, God, and tell me what I should do. And I'd love that. But what I find is when I get really quiet and really still, and I try to remove a lot of the thoughts and the stories that I make up in my own head about what life should look like, or who's in control, or any of the narratives that I often have. If I can quiet myself down and just be very present and listen for God, I'll feel God. I'll feel it from the source. I will experience God. I think you will too. I experienced God today in renewing my baptismal vows. And I said, I will with God's help. I will. I will with God's help. I will try to be the best Christian I can be. I will be the best Maggie that I can be with God's help. I will be the best mother that I can be with God's help. I will be the best human that I can be with God's help. I will with God's help. And that's the best we can do. We can consider the source again and again and quiet ourselves and feel the presence of God and know that God is the source of all of our light and all of our life. We have a craft today. Mine kind of got wet with glue because I was overzealous in trying to glue it together. But we made this in Children's Chapel. It's fun. So on one side, it just has a simple human figure in the water. And then you want to color on this side. You want to color this up. Make sure you color this up above and this down below. And you don't want to color the background. Or if you do, just make sure it's all the same color. Because look, there's Jesus in the water. Just the man in the water. And then all of a sudden, can you see it? I hope my phone camera does it correctly. Do you see the dove above his head? Isn't that neat? It's fun. So anyhow, that's our craft. The supplies will be on there. And I hope you know that I love you. And that I hope you have a wonderful week. Snow days or no snow days. And know that God is always with you and always directing you. Take care.